I can't believe this kayak got made. Behind me is Old Town's newest kayak, and it solves a lot of the things anglers have been asking for out of an Old Town kayak. This thing is packed with features, and I actually have this bad boy rigged to the teeth. But before we can get into that, let's go back to the garage and take a look at where we started with the new Old Town Sportsman 120 Pro. All right, well, we got something new, something unexpectedly new. Let's open it up. So there we have it, the new Old Town Sportsman 120 Pro. So this is the best of both worlds. We're taking the features of the Pro and molding it into a pedal driveless package. I actually got a chance to try this kayak out a few weeks ago up in Wisconsin. We fished it with a front mounted motor. We did some photo shoot stuff. And when I heard that this was coming down the pipeline, I was cautiously optimistic, because you guys know that I love my 120, my default paddle 120. But I also really do like the PDL Pro. I've taken it out on the river a few trips recently, and you've seen a lot of content of me fishing out of that without the pedal drive. But I like the option to put a pedal drive in if I ever want to go to like a small lake and, you know, just fish with no motor, nothing, just a pedal drive. But this kayak is definitely a blend of those. This is the best of both worlds. It comes pre-plumbed with steering. It's got a motor mount on the front and back. It's got all the track around the edges, just like the PDL Pro. So for all practical purposes, this is the spiritual successor to the original 120. I'm gonna rig it up and show you guys how I wanna fish this and talk a little bit about the versatility of it, because that was the thing that really blew me away getting a chance to try it, was the versatility. Oh yeah, I also really dig the hatch, because that was one of the things I hated on the original 120. One of the big changes of this kayak is that it does have a flat mounted spot with the 4-bolt pattern that you can put a bracket. So the first thing I'm gonna do before registering the kayak is I'm gonna put a bracket on there. And this does come pre-plumbed for a rudder. Not only can you put a bow mounted motor on the front and put the rudder kit on there and then steer with your feet, the motor will sit here and the lines come out there. So we might actually have to make some tweaks to that, but luckily we have hatch access in the back, which is something that we did not have on the original iteration of the 120. So depending on how you set this up, you've got two options. So we've got the classic 4-bolt pattern. This right here is the line through, and the line through goes up there. It's already pre-plumbed. The problem is if you do put a stern mounted motor on here, you have to move where these are. Well, luckily these exist, these spots right here. So the plan is to move them up there. I think it should give us enough clearance to just drill a hole there, pop these out, flatten them like we would in any other kayak, and then the foot steering will come through there instead of right here. The other option would be you could run it like we had on the other one, or you could put them up here. I think this is a cleaner install right here, so we're gonna go ahead and do that. So we just did a clean snap there. We still have plenty of tubing left to put it where we want it to go. I'll probably even that out a little bit. Now, I will point out, you don't need to do this. This is just if you want to streamline the stern mounted motor solution. It's pretty standard on most kayaks to have to drill these holes. It is nice that I would say 90% of the hard work is done. This is not gonna be that hard, but it does improve things a little bit. Just needed a little hollowing out. So honestly, that was pretty easy. And we'll have to seal up that part, and I'm probably gonna get some plugs to do that. So that'll be simple. I wanna be careful here because it's a perfect mushroom right now. So I'm gonna actually take the flat side of this drill bit and just push ever so slightly. Now we've got line through steering here that looks quite literally like it was from the factory. So we're good to go. So let me show you guys what we did here. So we actually sealed off the old silicone and some of these plugs they use for like car dashes. They're like $7. Of course, you always have to buy more than you need. That's just how they do them. But some silicone in there. It's a nice tight permanent seal. We've got our own foot steering in here now that will go right here. So that's nice and clean. These little bumps here are perfect. So we have a stern mounted motor that is good to go. So now that we've got it all rigged up, let's try it out on the water. Yeah, there's a lot less micromanaging when you have the bow motor on, because now you can control it with your feet and you're not sitting there playing with the remote. right as it hit the water. Yeah. Oh. And this is me days later after first rigging this kayak. And I'm gonna show you guys kind of what we've got it set up. And we're gonna take this iteration of it on the water for the first time. So let's do it. One of my big pain points with the Sportsman 120, the base level one, was putting it in from the back. You had to grab it by the mount, which is not ideal. Whereas this has the molded handles. So you grab it by the handles. Even though it is slightly heavier than the base 120 by about 10 to 15 pounds, it's a lot easier to load in my opinion, because not only do you have the back things, you've got these handles here, the handle in the front, and of course, one of the things that often gets overlooked about an Old Town kayak is it's got this nub right here. So if you're truck bed loading it, it gets caught on your bed extender, which makes it a lot easier to load and unload. So my main goal today will be running it with the Kayak Terrova. I do have both motors for this kayak, and you could presumably, just like I did with the PDL Pro, run both motors at the same time, nothing stopping you. But for today's video, we're just gonna focus on the Terrova, just because I think we're fishing this small little lake, it'll actually work pretty good, especially because there's a ton of weeds. There's like a nice little path here. So we are out in the Sportsman 120 Pro for the first time. We're running it with the Minn Kota, and we're gonna drop it down into the water. See, I've got it rigged up so we can just pull it like that. Easy deployment. And we're off. This thing is super, super stable. We knew that going into it. Like, there's no doubt that Old Town is known for stability. This, if you're looking for stability, it's got it. I don't think I can understate how much deck space there is in this kayak. It's actually unreal, considering that I really like that they added in the padding in the front. Now, if you need to like shift forward, you're still unpadding. It's still super stable. A lot of primary stability on this kayak. So first impression, now that I've used it with both motor and paddled it around a little bit more, I can see that this is going to be one of those kayaks that's going to be a lot more versatile. You could put power on either end, but it still paddles pretty decent. And you still have that stability. You know, I'm obviously up against the bank here, but it is a very stable platform and there's a lot of space. Cannot understate how much space there is on this. So we're gonna get loaded back up, I'm gonna go to the house, I'm gonna break down some of the key features of this kayak and who I think it'll be good for, because I think that's an important thing. So we've spent some time on the water with this kayak now, and we're gonna give you guys a full walkthrough of the kayak from front to back. And I wanna give you guys kind of my opinion on who I think this kayak's gonna be for. So starting at the front here, the hatch has gotta be one of the best redesigns. Now I know this is present on the Pro, but since there's no rod tubes or horizontal storage, you get a lot more space within the hatch. Let's take a look at it. So because there's no rod tubes, and the way it's designed is just slightly different. This section here is not as pronounced. Like, you don't have that huge nub coming out there. Let me show you guys. It's a much smaller nub, so it's like shifted forward some. So you do gain more functional hatch space because you don't have these and you don't have as much of this. So that's actually quite nice. Much like the Pro, it's got the 4-bolt pattern for a bow-mounted motor, which you just saw me run. It's got the same handle up here. So they've redesigned the seat a little bit too. So let's take a look at that and I'll kind of give you guys my opinion on that. So the seat is designed differently. You're still gonna get that same height, but it's gonna be different. It's not gonna have the height like it did on the PDL Pro. It doesn't have this plastic setting. So you've got the same height. Now, there is these trays here, so you don't have the full underhatch thing, but I will say this much, and this is a big change, is that right there, that's gonna help a lot, because on the original Sportsman, which you see over there in the mess, didn't have a good water drainage feature for that, and they've redesigned the Cockpit quite a bit. So I like that, because it's gonna funnel that water back to where it drains. So that's a huge change. When I first saw the seat in person, I was happy that they moved away from the plastic frame like what you saw on the Pro. I just think this gives you more options for seat risers if you want to go up a little higher. I've actually got some seat risers on it too. And one thing that I want to point out is it's got a shorter strap. So if you put seat risers on it, you can actually strap it down now. Before on the old 120, the original Sportsman 120, you couldn't actually strap it down because when you put seat risers on there, the straps weren't long enough to go on there. You had to make custom modifications. So that change is a welcome one. But the amount of space underneath the seat, I was unsure if I was gonna like the lack of under seat storage, but I think there's a couple cool things about this that I wanna point out. If you do want to store anything along the sides where there's like the plasticky platforms, first thing I would do is put some marine mat in there, which I'm definitely going to be doing. And it also serves as a great spot if you want to lay your rods and like bungee them down. If you're on a river or you don't like rods sticking up and you want to lay them horizontal, this is actually a great spot for them. Also, I think the main motivation here is I think a lot of people like to store their battery under the seat. And if that's something you want to do, this is the perfect compartment for that. Now I will point out there is a scupper under the seat. So on the old Sportsman, water would pool up under here. That is not going to be the case on this, which is awesome. So if you want to put a battery on there, they've got a little security bar there to strap it down. This is a great spot for a battery. Although you do lose some space with these, I think this could be some great spots for storage. But ultimately, I think that this is totally fine and it doesn't bother me as much. Now moving back to the back tank, well, it's actually a little bit bigger. That's one of the things that I noticed about this is because of the way it's designed with the seat, you almost gain a little bit over the PDL Pro, which I've got laying behind me. I think it's just a couple inches, but it does kind of matter. So we'll just go from the back there to here. We'll just say just over 23 inches. It's gonna be the same width for sure, you know, like 24 inches. But you can see you're getting a substantial amount more space in this tank well from the back of the seat up. So this is where the PDL Pro would end. So you're getting an extra, I've only got one hand here. You're getting an extra 6 inches plus like this slant. So in the PDL Pro, the intent probably was to put the battery there if you're running one. So that is a nice improvement if you like the space in the back. Not to mention, you actually gain an inch right here too. So granted, that is based on where you have your seat because you can scoot it back. I think I'm actually about as far back as you can go. You can go a little bit more, but this nub not being here is actually quite nice. And then on the back, obviously you guys have seen how we installed this on the back. It's a great spot if you want to put your battery back here too. There's a security bar back here just like under the seat. So bow to stern too, it's got track along all of it. So if you're a big fan of the track on the PDL Pro, you're gonna be a big fan of this kayak. So now we have to answer the million-dollar question. What is this kayak good at? Well, I'm glad you asked that because I actually think that it's a jack of all trades. And I think that that is the biggest strength with this kayak. It is gonna be a kayak that will allow you to fish it however you want. And if you've looked at my other videos, I've talked about this a million times. It's impossible to find a kayak that's great at everything, but you can still find kayaks that are really above average to average at a lot of different things, making it very serviceable in all those aspects. This is definitely gonna be one of those. You can put pretty much any type of motor on this kayak, plenty of capacity to take multiple batteries if you do wanna run 2 motors. The hatch has a ton of space. There's more tank well space. The cockpit is redesigned with a nice open floor platform, comfortable for short people, but it's also comfortable for people that are tall like myself. Now, what are some drawbacks of this kayak? Well, it doesn't paddle super great. It is a wider platform. It is stability focused. This one paddles a little bit stiffer. Not surprising. The way this is designed, it's much more primary stability focused, but I think that's also a big strength. It is a very stable platform. If you're truck bed loading, it is a little bit heavier than the old Sportsman. If you've already been truck bed loading the PDL Pro, that'll be a non-issue because this is substantially lighter than that. I actually don't mind loading this even though it is slightly heavier because there are a lot of grab points on it. I think that's a big selling feature. You have tons of points of contact where you can pick up the kayak and load it easily. You don't really have that as much on the old Sportsman 120. It was actually kind of annoying to load because when you would sit it up on there, you would really have nowhere to grab it. And there was only like one handle on the back left corner of the original Sportsman, so it was kind of awkward. So you ended up having to grab it by the mount. This one has tons of points of contact. And then I gotta say, maybe the seat platform isn't for everybody. If you like storing a lot of stuff under your seat, you do have limited storage, especially if you put the battery under there, you have pretty much nothing. For me, I keep my battery either in the front or the back, so this will be primarily for storage. And I actually don't think it's gonna be an issue at all. The one thing that I was really annoyed about, totally not a factor having fished out of this for a little bit. So I think if you want a versatile, stable platform that you can take on rivers, lakes, streams, backwaters, this is the kayak if you're an Old Town guy. If you've been looking for an Old Town style kayak that can do just about everything, this is gonna be a kayak for you. If you're gonna be someone who's just gonna be on tiny rivers where weight is important, this one might not appeal to you as much. But, like I said, there's never the perfect kayak for every scenario. So that's my quick little overview of the new Old Town Sportsman 120 Pro. I'm very excited to take this on the river. I've yet to really have it in a swift current scenario. I definitely know there's going to be some drawbacks to it, but comfort has been something I've really been prioritizing in my fishing experience, especially as when you do it a lot, you like to have a lot of space. And I think this will be a great kayak for the bigger, wider rivers that I like to fish, especially with a powerful motor like a Torqeedo 1103, or even the new e-propulsion motors that you've seen coming out. Those are going to be awesome. I cannot wait to try one of those on here. So lots of options with this kayak, super versatile. It's going to be on a lot of adventures just to finish out 2026. So let me know what you guys think of the new Old Town Sportsman 120 Pro. I think it's a very versatile package, and I think a lot of people are going to be super happy with it.